Dr. Manjunath is also from KIAMS, that is Kirloskar Institute of Advanced Management Studies. He's an associate professor there in finance and business analytics. He's got many years of experience in the investment banking and analytics domain, and around 8 years of experience in academic area. So he's expertise in the area of applied finance, and his area of interest includes majorly applied finance and analytics. So I think he's together with Professor Roy, he's the best person to teach us the practical aspects on how to use data science and data analytics in the finance sector. So over to you, Dr. Manjunath.
Thank you, sir. Absolutely. A pleasure to have both of these gems really with us, and I've really seen them doing this work and assisting some really chartered accountants in giving a fantastic analysis. Manjunath ji, over to you quickly.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you, Pankaj sir. Well, in the interest of the time, let me directly get into the main job of what we are actually looking for. In fact, Excel is one of the major tools. And when we talk about the excelling in Excel, is it possible, is what the first question is. And trust me, nobody can become an Excel in Excel. We know that it is one of the most important tool which plays a predominant role when we talk about the business as a whole, not necessarily finance sector or any specific item. Yeah, it is a tool which is consumed by the data scientist. So the data scientist is what the terminology which is buzzing in the industry now. Every MBA fresher or say any master degree PG guy comes to the platform of a corporate world, they say that they start dreaming that they want to be a data analyst or they want to be a data scientist. Now, when we talk about these kind of data, the analytics analysis, which Pankaj sir already talked about, now we need to understand one important thing, that why is it we are using Excel and what is it we can play around with the Excel? That is the first question everyone should have. Now, when I say data, the first thing one should understand is it is a response to a transaction, and that can have any kind of nature and the different avatars. And different avatar, as already the speakers have touched about, the text data, the imaging data, video data, and then the data in terms of the finance. Now for us, which I always love to play with the data, when we play with the data, we should never have the emotion on this data. When I say the data, the numbers, we play with the numbers. When we are playing with the numbers, we see something like an outlier. So suddenly you will see, let's say you're tracking the mutual fund returns for the last 10 years. If you look into 2008 and 2009, you will see a sharp fall as well as a sharp increase in terms of 2008 and 9. Now, will that data, 2009 data, starting from 2009 to 2020, if I take the 10 years of data and then make the average, will that be a real average? Will that average make sense? It's subjected to the question mark now, because 2008 happened to be a recession. 2009 you saw a kind of recovery, the boom, and when the markets were increased to that extent, the level at which it fall down, that outlier, I am calling it as an outlier now, the exception, because the growth which you saw in the stock market was a sharp recovery. So that year's data, 2009's data, or the numbers, if you take the averages for the next 10 years, will that be a really making sensible average? It's just an open question, because I'm showing something here. Before we get into that, we need to know something about the workplace when we talk about the Excel. Now we know that it's all about, it's one of the fantastic skill. It's a profitable skill, not only for the employee, but also for the employer, because any data analysis or any analysis part you talk about today, it is on the Excel. And Excel has become something like, say, a platform for a kid also now to play around. At the same time, the PG guys who says that we claim the MBAs and then we start working on something called as analysis. For that also we need an Excel. Now the question is, how do I use that Excel? What do I do with that? It basically helps us to build a future in terms of making some quick analysis. How do we do that? Maybe we organize the data in a structured format. When Pankaj sir was talking about the text data, if you look into the text data, the data, once it captures, it will be maybe in the form of a structured or a semi-structured or even unstructured. When it is completely unstructured, you will have to make it structured and then you will have to process it. Now, when we are talking about the Excel, Yes, absolutely. Our data or the numbers, whatever we have in our Excel, are systematically structured. Now, when we have a systematic, structured, organized data, now what do? We try to bring the relationship with all the numbers or the variables or the parameters which we see in the database. Now, when we see the database, it will be completely messy. But we need to have that skill, saying that what do I do with this Excel in terms of finding the required insight. So to bring out the insight, now let me jump into the statistical data analysis for the business now. I have just listed out something which are broadly covered when we talk about at the finance level, at least in the interest of the MBA professionals. We do the stock analysis, we do the data visualization. Yeah, I remember the Tableau, which was mentioned by Professor Pankaj. He was referring to the data visualization and the Tableau. It is one of the powerful tools where you can create the interactive dashboards. Gone those days where you take the data and then get the visualization and get it on your PPT and then present it to your boss. And now your boss says, create a wow impact. How will you create a wow impact? Yeah, sitting in a boardroom and he'll be asking about, you will be giving a breakdown of the presentation, and he says that I want to see something. And if he says something, now you need to bring up that immediate presentation over there. Is it possible? Yes, it's possible with the help of such a powerful tool which is called as the Tableau. We do even basic budgeting, the budget planning, the record maintenance. Sometimes the people call it as the Excel stores the data. I just enjoy the way how they say it stores the data, it consumes the data, it eats the data. And now the question is, if Excel says I'm having too much data, if Excel says I'm trying hard to process whatever you want to see, then what is required? You will have to move from Excel to the statistical tools. Maybe a Python or R will solve your problem when it is a huge data. And that's the only difference which I wanted to bring in a very nutshell. Now, when we have the statistical functions, when I use the Excel here for the demonstration, data analysis tool pack is what I'll be using. And that data analysis tool pack helps us in terms of defining and describing the business data, which basically helps you to identify some meaningful insights. And this is, of course, a modern enterprise wherein each and every person is so excited to see and bring out the insights of the data, whatever they have. Now, the business applications of the Excel data, when we have at a different level, let's say in the context of the finance and the accounting, maybe the financial statement analysis or budgeting and the forecast, you will be bringing out the regression. You will say, I have an independent variable, I have a dependent variable, and then you will say, can I predict the sales for my organization when I know that what is the price and what is the advertising cost? In that case, what is the likely sales which can be seen in the next quarter? Maybe that will help you to identify the sales revenue, and then followed with the last item, which is called as the net profit. Can we? Yeah, we can actually. That can be done. And in the context of the marketing and the product management, yeah, even for them also it is very much required. Maybe on a quarterly or a monthly, the data drag up, the sales target, the plan of the marketing strategies on the basis of the historical data. How is that they are trying to summarize in terms of meeting the customer expectation? And when we talk about the human resource, yeah, even for them also it is required. They discover the trends based on the data, whatever they have captured from the from their employees, summarizes the expenses and the better understand like how workforce can be spread at the different cost units. And the record details, of course, the HR is also now having a kind of hands-on with the Excel. Now, when we talk about at the different aspect of the nature of the sectors, this slide basically helps any person who want to deal with the Excel. I'll not be quoting whatever I have over there. It is for you guys to read it. And when I open my Excel, probably I'll be covering most of the things, because when you say, I know Excel, now how quickly you can transform that Excel skill, whatever you have, and then get the things done quickly is what my question is. So we have some basic functions as well as the advanced functions. Basic functions anyway, I'll not be touching it upon. These are the core aspects of any analysis which you start with the Excel. Therefore, now when I say this is very important, how do I do that? Why don't we have a kind of quick warm-up using Excel? Even my hands are actually waiting to play around on this keyboard. Let me switch to the Excel file. Yeah, I think this file is visible to everyone. I've used the mutual fund data. Now, when I say data, I have around 173 mutual fund schemes data, which consists of the different parameters, say the fund name, I have a fund name, amphi code, inception date, fund type, like that. I have the pin-to-pin information about these mutual fund schemes, and also the calculated values already which are available for us. Let's say the average daily return, the annualized return, variance, standard deviation, skewness, kurtosis, annualized standard deviation, like that. You can see here CAPM calculation, relationship, correlation, R square, performance measures. Now it is looking so beautiful, this data. When I say this is looking so beautiful, can I make some meaningful insight of this? Yeah, I can. Now this is an ocean for me because I'm just playing around here. I'm not using a mouse because I just want to quickly do whatever my mind is actually instructing me to get the things done to figure out the meaningful insights. I might be a bit fast, but yes, what I'm trying to say is when we are using the Excel, remember this: if you can ignore, if you can stop using the mouse or a touchpad, that is the day where you stepped into something called as the science, say data science and data scientist oriented job, or something related to the analytics. Why? Because if I use a mouse and if I just say scroll down the things, how much time it takes to know like what kind of data I have? I'll be having many things in my mind in terms of finding some meaningful insights. I might be instantly getting an idea saying that I want to know what kind of crisis categories are available in this database, or maybe I'm interested to know that which mutual fund scheme is highly correlated with the Indian market, stock market, in line with the BSE, Sensex, or I might be interested to know which scheme has got the highest return. Now, these kind of questions do pop up now when I can see such a kind of questions. Now, probably this is one of the basic steps which I'm performing here. I see this as a filter, advanced filter. You can do this. I'm using just a quick, say, I'm using shift space bar and then selecting the entire row. Then I'm using Alt D FF. It's a kind of like magic applying an advanced filter over there automatically. And now I'm using control right arrow key, which takes me to the right dead end. Now, if I want to go and see what is the last column in the Excel, immediately I'll do control and then I'll move it towards right side. XFD is what the last column in this Excel is. And if I want to know what is the last cell in this, yeah, it is a 1,04,000. Sorry, 10 lakh. Okay, 1,04,8576 and XFD. Now, if I do control home, how does it move? It moves straight away to the A1. So these kind of shortcuts help you to make the kind of analysis in a way which you would like to see. Now, very first point, what is triggering to my mind is I want to know in this mutual fund database, when I say that I have a mutual fund schemes, nothing but the mutual fund names. Along with that, we have a CRISIL category. CRISIL happens to be the credit rating agency. Now, if I want to see how many categories are available in this database, probably I'll be, if I use a mouse and then I'll click on this and then I'll open and then I'll just say scroll down like this and then I see the list of CRISIL categories. But how do I do without using that mouse? Yeah, I'm just pressing the Alt as well as the down arrow key and then I can see here the big list. Now, when I see the big list, if I want to just see the mutual fund schemes only for the index funds, again, I'll deselect and then I'll select index fund and then I click on and then I can see the list of funds which are available in the category of, what is the category? The category of index funds. Now, how quickly I can do this? I'll just say shift spacebar, Alt DFF. I'll just use control and the right arrow key, the dead end of the right side, Alt and then down arrow key. I'll just say deselect using the arrow key as well as the space bar. Then I'll click on the index funds and then say enter, and then I can see here the list of schemes which are available. Again, this is a part of the analysis. How much time it takes using a mouse touchpad and then bringing out the filtered data, and how much time it takes when you're using a shortcut. This is one way of looking into the data, whatever you would like to see. The filter option which I wanted to show you is. Now, we also have something called as a conditional formatting. Now, I cannot demonstrate all the items, whatever I have in the conditional formatting, but I can give a quick kind of hint saying that because Excel is all about the practice. Practice makes man perfect, and that is where now we have to play around with the Excel. Now, if I see here for the conditional formatting, the highlight cell rules, this helps me to identify right parameter based variables, or it helps me to make a kind of fill the color combination for the data, whatever I have in my Excel. I'll take a very simple example here. In the case of the minimum investment, I would like to apply this conditional formatting and then check the greater than, say greater than 5,000. And then I'll say that can be filled with a green. And then if I say, okay, the entire column should have the application of 5,000 with a green symbol. Now, how do I select this entire column? I can do a very simple operation here. Shift, Control, and then down arrow key selects the entire column instead of dragging using a Excel, what is that, mouse or a touchpad. Even I don't remember that mouse. I stopped using the mouse last few years. I'll just quickly do highlight cell rules. Now, greater than 5,000, it says can go with the green. And if you see here, it is highlighting everything. Why? Because I wanted to demonstrate this and then show you a negative output. When I say I want to see something greater than only 5,000 should be highlighted as a green, but it is not popping up. I repeat that my action here. I select the entire column. I click on the conditional formatting, highlight cells rule, greater than 5,000, and then say green. I say, okay, your 500 is highlighted with a green. Excel sometimes behave in an unexpected manner, and this is what I always claim when we talk about the Excel. Why? Because this is looking clean, and this is straight away my PhD thesis, which I used 2 years back. And this has been formatted in such a way I cannot do anything over this particular item. I mean to say the data, the addition, or in terms of the updation, because this has been protected. You can protect your Excel in such a way you want. Now, when I say you can use the mouse or a touchpad or even a shortcut key and then make some quick analysis, sometimes what happens is some brains are more quicker in terms of identifying, like, yes, I want to figure out that, I want to figure out this based on the AMC. Someone might come and say quickly, I want to see the asset management companies list. And he or she may get a list of 15 AMCs, asset management companies. And someone again might, someone might say that, I want to know how many mutual fund schemes are available in this database for each asset management company. Someone might come and say, I want to see the minimum investment of 5,000 mutual fund schemes overall in this database. When people have such a kind of quick questions to figure out the answer, how do I fulfill that? Using one more powerful option, which is coming under here, under the insert, which is called as pivot table. Let me bring out that pivot table here. I'll just delete it here. So select a table range. I'll select from starting with the serial number. I'll not be using a mouse or a touchpad. I'll say shift, right arrow key, control button, and it is selecting the entire row. Now I'll do down arrow key. The complete range has been selected. I'll say use a new worksheet. Then I'll say okay. Now this is something interesting. If someone comes here and then say, I want to know the total list of, 1 second, I just clicked on something. You guys are able to see my Excel, right?
Yes, we can see that.
Yeah, I just clicked on this button, red button, and this is taking me. Yeah, okay. So if someone says that I want to see the total CRISIL category and the mutual fund schemes, and suddenly someone comes to me and then says, in this database, we have a CRISIL category. The category consists of, see here, consists of 12 categories. And I want to know the total number of schemes. Now I can bring in any variable to the values, and I can see here the count. I'll just quickly move to the sheet here, the database. I quickly move using a control and page up, page down. If you do control page up, it goes to the previous, control page down, it goes to the next sheet. Now, do we have 173? Yeah, I'll do shift, control, and then down arrow key. I can see here in the count 173. I can also use a function is equal to count and then select the entire range, and then you will be getting the total count. I can do that, but that seems to be so basic. But anyway, how does it look? It looks like this. I'll just say is equal to count. Then I'll select the complete column. Then I'll see 169 here. Why is that? If you see here, if I click on this, you will see 173. And when I use a function which is called as the count, 169, because a amphi code is not available for the schemes, and that has not been read by the Excel. Now, I'll not be going with this function anyway. We are not talking about that. Let's quickly jump in here. We have 173 total mutual fund schemes. This we got to know, and we have around 12 categories which are coming under the CRISIL category. Someone might think that, okay, I want to know what is the maximum percentage of schemes captured by which category. I repeat my question. We are now interested to know what percentage of, what is the percentage of each CRISIL category which holds the mutual fund schemes, and which category is having the highest percentage of schemes. Now, I'll not be using any of the function, but just it's as good as playing with the Excel. You can see here, I just did a right click, show values as percentage of grand total. This is something like a messy. If anybody looks into the percentage here for this 12, it looks messy, and then the big number has to be looked into. Now, why don't we use the right arrow key and then say sort, and then click on the largest to smallest, and we have here the equity schemes with the percentage. I just selected this data. I clicked on F11, the shortcut key, after selecting the data, and automatically it popped up a visualization for me. How much time it took? I don't know, not even seconds. Let me switch here. Now, this is how, if you ask me any analysis can we do using a pivot table? Yeah, pivot table happens to be the robust one. Trust me, most of the researchers, before getting into so-called the sophisticated regression analysis, correlation analysis, basically with an advanced feature, the pivot table gives them a lot of insights. And I've seen the best research, best of best research, which is extracted on the basis of the pivot table here. Now, don't you think so? This looks so good. Can we make it more complicated, this particular table? Yeah, we can. Now, let me look into the AMC. I don't know the AMC list. Let me bring it to the column. Yeah, if I bring it to the column here, I can see the AMCs, whatever we have. Now, can we play around? Because if I see towards right, it is like a train. And this is not good for eyes as well as making the analysis. This says nonsense. Here we have just 12, and here I can see here I have total column size of 29. Now, how do I do that then? Have I been trained to do these things? No, not really. Just out of my experience and then playing with this data, I realized it. Yeah. Now, how does this look? Each category is having a data with a percentage, because I did a calculation, and all the schemes are, the AMCs are available here. I can see 28 AMCs, asset management companies, which has got the data. This is a complicated one. Can we have the visualization for this? There is no yes or no. I just click on the F11. Now, when we do this kind of activity, we need to know whether that visualization makes sense. Excel throws everything. If I give an equation, if I give a function, if I give a formula, if I say I'm using a shortcut, it throws everything, because Excel never understands sensible and non-sensible. Therefore, we need to be sensible to know what is that we are likely to see. I'll just delete this now. This is fantastic. So this is the power of the pivot table. Now, I have a small task. The task is that I've got some amphi code and I need to extract the fund name and AMC, along with that the CRISIL category for the amphi codes, which are 30 here. You can see here the count is 30. For this 30 amphi code, I would like to quickly have fund name, AMC and CRISIL category. This can be done if I simply check here by making a Control C, and then page, if I do Alt Tab, Control F, Control V, and it takes me to Franklin India Blue Chip Fund. Now, how can I quickly get this done? This is again another powerful feature where we always say, look up the data, look the data. Now this sheet, this is a very small sheet which is called as the exercise sheet. Now I want to extract some data, whatever I want to see it from the big database. So when we have a data which is ready, now I need to extract the data. Now go and look the data, whatever you want to have. Go and look the data. You can look the data horizontally and you can look the data vertically. Now for this demonstration, I have the data vertically. Now when I have the data vertically, there is a strong debate actually when people are not so fond of this Excel and then the lookup operations. They say data looks in both the way. It is looking like a column, it is looking like an horizontal. Then how do you classify it as a column or a horizontal? Yeah, when you, I'll give a very simple answer for that. When you have the heading and followed by that you have a data, the number of observations for that particular variable in a column wise, which means that the column. So vertical. Now let me look the data here for these 30 amphi codes and then get the fund name as well as asset management company and the CRISIL category. How do I do that? Now I look up the data using a is equal to function. I'll not be talking about why I'm using equal to. We all know that we look up. I'm saying we look up, vertically look up the data. Now what is that I want to look up? I want to look up this amphi code, the one which I selected from the present sheet. Then I'll say comma. You know what, one good thing about the Excel is, Excel itself is a trainer to you guys, at least when you are saying is equal to in the Excel. How? The moment when you say is equal to and then type in the function whatever you would like to have, Excel will start talking to you. You need to know the language of the Excel. Excel is asking you now, see here, something is in bold, it is saying table array, it is asking you to get the table array. Now I'll just delete this A2. The moment I typed in VLOOKUP and then open the bracket, it says lookup value. Anything which is bold, which means that Excel is talking to you. Excel is talking to me and it is saying, what is the lookup value? Then I say the lookup value is this. For this code, I would like to have the fund name. And now Excel is saying, you have selected a lookup value and you missed something, that is the comma. Yes. And it is asking me, go get the table array. Go get the table array, which means that the database. Now, how do I move? The Alt tab, and then I'll start from the amphi code here. I have the amphi code. Now from that sheet, that spreadsheet to this spreadsheet, I need to link it. And now this can be called as linking the data in a lookup operation. Now I'll select this code. And what is it I want? I want to fund name. I'm just selecting it. You can see. I'll select the fund code and then I'll use a shift and then I'll take a right arrow key. Now, from the entire database, I would like to know that fund name for that amphi code. So Control Shift down arrow key. The complete columns have to be selected. Now Excel is talking to me and it says put a comma. The moment I put a comma, it says column index number, which means that how many columns you have selected. I have selected only 2 columns. One is the code and the second is the fund name. So I'll just type in 2 and it says put a comma. I put a comma. Now the moment I put a comma, Excel is talking to me. Let us not be hurried. It is saying you want an approximate match or you want an exact match. The best practice in the world and the industry is to get the exact match. You can type in FALSE false, or you can select false from the option whatever you're seeing here. False, you can select. You know what I'm used for? Instead of typing the false, I'm used for putting a 0. 0 is a false in the Excel. I close the bracket and then I hit enter. The moment I hit enter, I get the output. And what is the thing I'll do? I'll just say double click. It's done. Otherwise, I'll just do Control Z. What I'll do, I'll just use this operation quickly because I don't want to touch the touchpad and then do a double click. So I can also do that. Now this is what the operation is called as, to look up the operation whatever you would like to have, maybe vertically or horizontally. Now any code you talk about, you know the fund name. Now if I just delete this data and it is now hash init, Control Z, now we have this data. Before I move to the next item, I just want to quickly say something here. I know most of the people are used for it. I want to copy this 30 mutual fund names as the output which I got here into a different sheet. Let me get a Control N and it's a new sheet. Now Control N. Amphi code and the fund name. I want to select the complete column. I'll do Control C, Alt Tab, then I do Control V, and then I get the data here. You still see the formula which is copy pasted. Sometimes what happens is if you copy paste this copy and then paste somewhere, it becomes NA. We all know that, most of the people are aware of it, using a paste special values. Yes, that can be done. Yeah, that is one of the powerful feature. Now here itself I'll just select the complete column, Control C, and then I'll do something. I'll show you something and then I'll explain you. I got the output here. But if I do the same thing here, Control C and then Control V, let me paste here. I'm not getting the output because if I see here NA, every cell has got the formula. But if I see here, formula has been removed. So what did I do? As I already said, I just did copying the things and then I want to paste here. I'll click on the paste and you can see paste values. It's one of the beautiful options. The number formatting also you want to have the same. Yeah, click on that and the formatting also remains same. And this is how you extract the data using a lookup operation, paste special values. How did I do, by the way, using a shortcut? Let me quickly do it now, just for the sake of fun here with the Excel playing for the analysis. Control Alt V, and there is a window. I'll use a down arrow key for the values. Then I hit OK, which means that the enter, and I get the output here. This is how we get the data using. I just do Control W now. Then I say don't save. I don't want that. This is the task sheet which I was working on. I don't want the sheet now. I'll just say Control W. Then I say don't save using a shortcut key. Now this is at a very macro level when we use a function which is called as the conditional formatting or insert, and then you go to the pivot table and then you apply multiple factors for the, say, let me get into the sheet here. Yeah, you apply a lot of parameters by selecting the categories from the pivot table fields for making the analysis, and then that looks good. Now suddenly something is happening here. Let me remove this AMC and then get the Chrysler category. Yeah, this is where we were with. You know what, this is really sensible when we have the different type of parameters. And if you want to do anything, age of the fund, and I get some of the age. I just wanted to show this one. It says it has captured the sum of age because it is coming under the values. If you see here, each Chrysler category has got the sum of age, but how can I do the average age of each category? Now average age of means what? The age of the mutual fund scheme, which is here. I have set the date as 31st March 2018, and then I figured out what is the age of each mutual fund scheme, and I've calculated here. At the category level, Chrysler category level, I just wanted to have the average age for the Chrysler category. Now, if I just do the sort, the largest number, let me quickly, yeah, 17 is the average aggressive hybrid category, and that is a sensible one. But in terms of the total number of schemes as a percentage, it is a different category. So this is how you can play around with the pivot table. I'm sorry I might be a bit fast, but it is seriously not a fast. I'm at a dead slow using just some of the functions. Now we have got something here interesting. I talked about the data analysis tool pack. In the interest of the time, I have to quickly cover that. In your Excel, I would definitely ask you to go click data and then check whether you have the data analysis here. If you do not see data analysis here, it is very simple. You click on the file, you click on the options, and you click on the add-ins. Manage Excel add-ins. If you say go here, you will see add-ins available. Analysis tool pack VBA. We have Euro currency tools. I always use eViews, econometrics, solver add-in, stat tools. Stat tool is the external, the add-in, the software which I use for making the analysis. And you click on OK, and automatically that will be built in your Excel for the data analysis. Now, how do I do? What do I do with this data analysis? Anyway, I'll not be giving you a lecture saying that what test you need to do and which test when to do and how to do. But let's get used for this. When I click on the data analysis, yeah, this data analysis talks about the ANOVA, correlation, covariance, descriptive statistics, like that. You have many things. Now, when we have many things, it is difficult actually to figure out what to be done. Trust me. When you have a meal plate, and the meal plate, when it is a full meal, you have a lot of variety of sweets and so delicious things to eat. The first thing is when I look into the plate, at least for me, when I look into the plate, I'll be getting confused. I'm fond of sweet always, and if I see more than 2 to 3 types of sweets, then I'll be getting confused saying which one to eat. Now I need to know according to my preference and the taste, and the one which I like and love most, I should take it. In a similar way, now when we have the different analysis tool packs, with that the data analysis tool pack, we have different tests. Now, how do I do? What do I do? What it stands for? Let's take very few minutes. Anyway, we started our session late, so I'll not be taking much time, but I'll definitely show you. We can play around with this. I'll just say escape. That disappeared. I have a scores now. The scores, 14 observations I have. For these 14 observations, I want to apply descriptive statistics. Now, I'll not be giving a lecture on what is descriptive statistics, but we will see what is that, and we will be able to understand what is that. Descriptive statistics. I'll say okay. It says give me the input. I can select the complete column. How did I do? Control Shift down arrow key. I selected the entire column, the scores, whatever I have. Then I'll say label is in the first row. What is that I would like to have? I would like to have summary of statistics, the basic statistics. Any research you talk about, generally they start with the descriptive statistics. I'll tell you why. Now let me get this in a new workbook. Let me click on OK. It runs and it throws some descriptive statistics. This is looking beautiful. I know what is the meaning of beautiful here. Mean, standard error, median, mode, standard deviation, sample variance, kurtosis, skewness, range, min, max, sum, count. So many things automatically calculated for us. Now, what is that I want to understand from this? Let me go to that scores. I have a different scores, 14 observations. On these observations, if I want to understand this 14 observations statistically, is it possible? Yes, it's possible. Any number you select, any numbers you select, and then use our descriptive statistics. It's our ready package. This will be our output for you. And this output says we have 14 observations, and the total of that 14 observation is 1137, and the maximum observation in that selected range is 100, and the minimum range is 58. The range you can see is 48. The skewness, kurtosis, sample variance, standard deviation. Standard kurtosis, skewness, I'll take a pause. Before that, we'll go to the variance. What is the variance? Variance is nothing but from one observation to the observation, what is the difference or what is the variation? And that variation is how much standard? It is 15 from one observation to the other observation. Mode, the number which is appearing many times, 93. The median, the highest midpoint in the given data set is 85. The standard error within the observation with a deviation from Each and every observation is around 4. The average of the 14 observation happens to be 81. Now, I have no PPT, but yes, when we have the just 14 observation, when we got quickly the descriptive statistics, we can talk hell about it using this as the item. Now, quickly, in just few seconds, what is this kurtosis and this skewness? Kurtosis, I have got minus 1.42, minus 0.402 for skewness. Yes, you know what? When we talk about the analysis and when we say research, when we say reliability, when we say we need to have a proper analysis, there is a standard rule which says that the data should be normally distributed, which is nothing but the bell shape. Maybe you can remember from your degree days, from the quantitative techniques, data should be normally distributed. If the data is not normal, if the data is moving towards right or towards left, if the data is having too much volatile data, too much variant data, and it will be having a kind of thing. How it looks like this. Skewness. You can see here the shape of the distribution. If it is so thin, it is called as lepto, meso, and then platy. And when we talk about the skewness, yeah, we always say whether the data is moving towards right or towards left. What this help? What kind of observation one can do from this? If at all, if the data, whatever we have, is of at a standard which is above average and it is moving towards extreme right side, then you need to be aware of that your data is highly skewed towards the right hand side. If it is below average, majority of the observations are, if the below average, then your data will be moving towards the left side. Such a kind of visualization can be done with the help of a histogram, and the sample size, I've just used one screenshot here. If you use a very less and a simple sample data, the skewness and kurtosis happens to be like say 3.9 and 1.9. When you have a huge sample size data, almost kurtosis and your skewness will be close to 0, which means that data is normally distributed or bell-shaped data. In a similar way, when we use the data analysis, yeah, we have a lot of things here. Why don't we do another experiment on the data? Let's do the ANOVA here. I'll give a hypothetical case. We have the salaries of people who have a degree in economics, medicine, or history. We have the salary, people coming from a different stream. Economics has got 9 observations, medicine has got 7 observations, history has got 9 observations. Now, I want to test ANOVA. When I say I want to test ANOVA, I'll not be again giving a lecture, but I'll just show you the one-way analysis of variance is used to determine whether there are any significant differences between the average of 2 or more than 3 independent or unrelated groups. We have the unrelated groups here, which are called as economics, medicine, history. Now, what is it I can do from this data? I really don't know what I can do, but let me try and do that. Data analysis. Let me go to the ANOVA single factor. And then I say, okay, it says, give me a input range. Let me select the complete input. And I should say labels are in the first row and new worksheet. Let me get it in a new workbook. I'll just say, okay. Excel throws everything. But what is that? Now that is the question. I'll come to that. When you did a ANOVA, which is the standard test, basically, which helps you to figure out the variances between each independent variable. Economics, the people who are getting the different salaries under the degree of economics has nothing to do with the medicine, and medicine has nothing to do with the history. In the similar case with the history, with medicine and the economics, nothing to do with that. Now, I just applied a test which is called as the ANOVA. And what the test is talking about, I got the output here, the output, which I got it in a different sheet. Now, using this output, I'll be a little more complicated using some technical terms. I'll be concluding this by saying F value 15.196. I'll just highlight that. With the F critical value, I'll say If F is greater than F critical value, there is a standard rule saying that we reject the null hypothesis. And yes, we are rejecting it. And that is what I've written in the first line. So when we reject the null hypothesis, what does it mean? It means that the average or the mean of these three population coming from different groups are not all equal. At least one of the means is different. Definitely every degree oriented salaried people average is different from one another. Do I need to check that? Yes, I might check that. And this is how I get the response on that. Now, is this the ultimate test which we have to conduct? No. This, I mean, when you want to apply the ANOVA, just remember these examples. The owner is interested to know the average daily sale of new brand at 3 metro cities. Maybe for that you can just check around, because owner is having different branches and he wants to check for that average daily sale for a new brand at 3 metro cities. And 3 metro cities using this ANOVA, yeah, you can make some sensible. Our vice chancellor is interested to know the average CGP of 3 institutes. You have 3 different institutes, and the average sale of the new brand of gasoline is the same in all 3 metro cities. I've read it as H0, which means that the null hypothesis. Null hypothesis always says that under the given constant, nothing is changing. So you go and test statistically whether there is a significant change or not. I'll try and ensure that I'll not be using much technical terms. Now, when we say we have a F test, what does F test do? This basically teaches how to perform F test using the Excel, and I'll not be dragging it, and then I'll say data analysis, and then I select F test. I can click on OK, and then I can select the data, male, female, whatever I have here. This data is talking about study hours of 6 female students and 5 male students. Now, what is it I can bring out from this data? I'll not run the test, because now you got to know data analysis, and then clicking a test, you can do something here. I have the output. With that output, what I can see, you can see that the observation for the male and female, the average for female study hours is 33 and for male is 24.8, and that is what the data we have, study hours. What can we interpret from this? It is very simple to see. If you look into each observation, you will say, oh, first female has got 26 hours. Oh, one of the female has got the 52 hours. Yeah, individual observation speaks, but at the outset, when you say you are applying the statistics, how is that you can do? Here, for the data, the conclusion is that the variances of 2 populations are unequal, which means that the deviation for a female category in terms of the study hours is different from the male. I just checked it. You may ask me, why is it you checked it? It is quite obvious that the female will be having a longer study period when that is compared with the male. I don't know, but I cannot say, yes, it is for granted by oral comment. When we say we are statisticians, we will never give whatever we feel. We see, and we need to see how, using the statistical analysis. And F test is one of that. T test is also, again, one of the simple tests which can be identified to figure out the unique variances, or whether the variances are equal in both the categories or 2 or more independent variables. Something similar to that.
Manjunath sir.
Yes, sir.
Sorry for interrupting. I think we are receiving messages that most of the places there is this curfew due to this lockdown, so all of them have to leave the office and all this. But I think the session that is going and the feedbacks that we received are so well. All of them are demanding for a separate session altogether. So if you agree, we can if we can quickly sum up, or maybe before we could start a new function, I think we'll take this as a totally different session, maybe 1.5 hours, wherein you can do this in a much interactive and a better manner, is if at all, because this lockdown thing has come up. Unfortunately, people have to go back home, so let's not even I have to close the office, but I'm okay. I mean,
I got the point, sir. In fact, we started late. Give me just 2 minutes.
Sure, Manjunath sir, 2 minutes. And what we'll do is, and I definitely, because everyone is asking for another session, so we'll definitely have one more session only purely on these things, these tools, because these are something which we only studied once for our exams, statistics,
Yes.
but never
Yes.
used it. But I'm sure we are missing so many things if we start using this, you know,
Yes.
in our profession, in our daily work. I think it can really give a lot of very good speaking reports.
Yes. Yes.
So, sir, 2 minutes if you can wind up, and then you know.
Yes, perfect. Thank you. In fact, I was about to talk about the correlation for 3 different stocks, and then I was about to run a regression. When I want to run a regression, it is very simple that can I forecast my sales using the data, which is the variable called as the price and advertising? Yes, it is possible. Can we predict? Yes, we can predict. Can we forecast? Yes. For how many quarters? As long as Excel is allowing you to forecast the different quarter parameters and the sales numbers, yes, you can, when you know what is your independent variable and the dependent variable. Now, I just want to give a quick disclaimer. Let me jump into the disclaimer part now. The disclaimer is that, yes, this is the one which I wanted to say as a disclaimer. This is very much required. At least when people attend my session on the statistics, I always say all models are wrong. Beautifully explained by the authors in the textbooks, but only some are useful. I'm not saying this, and I'm truly inspired by an accidental statistician, George E.P. Box, who talks about the statistics and the models. You will see a lot of models which are available in the textbooks, as sir you rightly pointed out, we studied during our academics, but what is really making sense for me during my business or to bring out the meaningful insights? Therefore, all models or the all tests which I demonstrated are wrong. Then which is correct? Then which is useful? That you need to decide what is useful for your data, because data is a baby and that baby has to be nurtured, or the data has to be nurtured in a way you want to treat it. By saying that, I would like to put a full stop on that, and then if any questions, people can come forward, sir.
Superb, Manjunath sir, amazing. What a end. Fantastic.